topic is one that, again, a lot of times I have what I call recurrent themes in therapy. This week's recurrent theme is part of relationships. And I tease people a lot about the fact I don't do couples therapy. But again, a lot of times the things that I talk about for communication skills and for family therapy and assertive communication skills, they all keep looping back into what probably is close to some type of couples therapy, at least sometime. Of course, the issue that I get is even if I don't do couples as a couple, I get an individual who's part of a couple. So as you can see, I get half a couples therapy, which I don't know, is sometimes the equivalent of couples therapy. That being said, getting to the point of it, the discussion was when people are in relationships, over time, you tend to build up these mistakes. Things happen. The wrong thing is said. People trigger you. You get into arguments. And I want to clarify that what I'm talking about today is not the abusive type things. If somebody's, abusing you verbally, mentally, or physically, this isn't our conversation today. If this is a case of where, you're being exploited or manipulated, this is not the case today. I'm talking about two people with issues or problems getting together and trying to make a relationship work. Now, what do I mean by issues and problems? I very rarely meet anybody who actually has no issues and no problems coming from their background. Some people have very traumatic and hard, early lives. Some people have been in bad relationships and a lot of things have happened. This is that in-between spot where you're dating somebody or you're with somebody and things get said. You get into arguments. Sometimes people even go as far as to get into screaming matches. It would be nice if those things didn't happen, but as I said, would be nice is not a reality. It's more likely that people will disagree. The thing is a lot of times when people get into a relationship, they start to have these problems and they don't address them. They don't work on them. And their anger builds. And then they also have this combined idea that, well, we're not arguing about it now, or that happened yesterday, and I don't want to talk about it now because I don't want to deal with it now. So let's just, forget about it. Well, it has to be addressed and taken care of. And it also comes to a place of where I don't think relationships are about not screwing up. It's about fixing your screw ups when they happen. In other words, owning your responsibility for what you said or done, and together working through to make it so that it either doesn't happen again, or if it does occur again, it's not as bad, that you're able to reduce some of your anger or some of your problems in the conversation, to not say the things that are hurtful. Now, there's a lot of skills that go into this to begin with, trying to get people who are talking together to leave out those argument words. I've discussed that before. Where the jump is made, though, is that a lot of times as people have things happen through the relationship in those spots, they get to a point where they say, okay, it's too many things, too much time. I'm going to scrap this whole relationship and go find me a new one that doesn't have all these problems. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. You're just going to go out and find someone just like the last one. Or you'll swing all the way to the other end of the pendulum and find someone who's the exact opposite, which can be almost as problematic. So instead of having someone who's angry all the time, you find someone who's totally detached or totally depressed. Or just says yes, and you're not happy with that either. The good spot is the one where you repair. Now, what does that mean? It means when you have a big argument with somebody and you get mad at them and something hurtful is said, you address it. You work through it. And this kind of ties into some other stuff I've talked about. I tell parents, you've not done your job as a parent if you haven't went through as your child grows and bought them a plant, a goldfish or a hamster, some kind of cat or dog, because the whole purpose of those is for them to learn not only to take care of something else, be responsible for something else, but how to handle it when that something else is gone. In other words, the plant's going to die. Sorry, the goldfish, parakeet, whatever is going to pass away. The doggy and the kitty might well do it too, because their lifespan is not in the 20s of years. Turtle, different story. Don't do the turtle route. They may never go away. The idea is the person learns to deal with the grief and loss of something passing, and that helps you to build the skills needed so that as things get more serious, and by the time you're a teen or a young adult, you're able to handle it when someone close to you leaves or passes away. This is all about building what you need to have a better relationship with the things that happen around you, handle them, have more resources and skills to handle it. Now, what does this mean about relationships? If you haven't had good success, or you've had bad examples growing up, or you had parents whose parenting styles did not lend to you learning to be safe, confident, able to handle and mastery the parts of the communication skills you need, all those things are going on, then you're going to have to learn them as an adult. And that means that when you make mistakes, being able to sit down at the table with the other person and go, we're not going to pretend it didn't happen. We're not going to hide from it. We're not going to ignore it. We address it. We address it once we're calm. We come back to the table. We sit and we talk. What happened? We change the way we handle things. I tell people, a lot of times in the heat of the moment, we tend to argue over things that don't need to be argued over. We make a big deal out of something that doesn't need to be made a big deal out of. And then we stand our ground and scream and holler and figure that we'll win our way over and get the other person to listen to us and believe us by screaming louder than them, or by doing something really, really rough, like rejecting them or withholding affection from them until they agree that we're right, which are all problematic. I've said it before, forcing people to agree with you will not in the long term win you any ground, because they're going to be upset. They're waiting for you to mess up and they're going to get you back. And by not addressing it at all, it's doomed to happen again and again. You have to figure out where you went wrong and what you need to do to work on it and fix it. And that means you have to own those mistakes. Other people may not do that. If you're in a relationship where the other person doesn't do that, that might be a clue that it's time to move on. That might be a clue that you need to do something about this. If you're in a relationship, though, where the other person truly knows they messed up, they're willing to own it, and they're willing to do something about it. That's the difference. Saying you're sorry and doing nothing to change it is not the same thing as owning it, saying, yes, that was my fault, and this is what I'm doing to fix or change it. Same rules that I had for my kids growing up. My son, my rule to him was, dude, you broke it, fix it. You can't fix it, bring it to me. We'll try to fix it. If we can't fix it, you might have to buy it, which means you're going to have to pay for it. As long as you go on those rules, though, I'm not going to, scream, holler, lose control, jump all over the place, punish you severely. No. Where you get in hot water is when you slide it under the table and hide it, when you pretend it never happened and you don't own what you did and make it better. Relationships are a lot the same way. If you broke it, fix it. If you can't fix it, talk about it. We'll fix it. If we can't fix it, we'll go find someone else to help us fix it. And it's also a case of being able to realize that the best relationships are not those that avoid making any mistakes. It's the ones that when they make mistakes, they're able to learn and grow and be closer together, to trust that if a mistake is made, and if I made it and I own it, that I'm not going to be shamed and blamed and guilted. I'm going to be listened to, and I'm going to be allowed a chance to make it better and fix it. And it also means I'm not going to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Yes, occasionally you will repeat a mistake. The thing is, if you set up safeguards to try to not let that happen, or to work around that, or if you're having a problem with all kinds of things from your own childhood, you get triggered, you raise your voice. Well, then you're working on not raising your voice. If you get triggered and you shut down, then you learn how to shut down if you have to, in a way that's okay for both you and the other person, by saying, I just need 5 minutes. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving the house. I'm not walking away. I'm not slamming the phone down. I just need 5 or 10 minutes or 15, whatever your thing is. And you use that time to actually calm down. And then you come back and address the problem. Or even if it's a case of where something's going on, I tell people, and here's the really tough one when it talks about communication, that damn texting. When you text, you cannot always get the other person's tone. Messages can go wrong quickly. Someone simply typing, what are you doing, might mean, hey, what are you doing? Because maybe they're interested in coming over, or maybe they want you to come over, or maybe they just, want to talk for a minute and they don't want to bother you if you're busy. If you're in a bad mood, though, you hear the tone. What are you doing? What do you mean? What am I doing? I'm working. I'm busy. See, and you're off to the races on being angry and upset when it wasn't meant that way. So you can't judge a conversation well that's going by text. So if you ask a question or you want something and an argument is brewing and the person doesn't want to agree or something's happening, just let it go for a minute. Go, okay, cool. Can we talk? Talk, not text, later today or tomorrow morning or whenever y'all get together. And then when you do that, you're able to sit down and go, I wasn't sure. I heard this. I thought it meant this. What does it mean? Not why, not argument words, not you said, you made me mad. Come on, people. Chill. Bring this back down a notch and go, I heard, when I read the words, what are you doing? In my mind, I took that as being accusatory, or, I took that as argumentative. It allows the other person to say, oh, I just wanted to talk to you. Maybe it was a whole misunderstanding from the get-go. Or maybe the other person did want to start an argument. But by controlling the situation and waiting to talk later, that means you don't get mad and argue while you're busy in school, or while you're busy at work, or while you're busy doing something you need to do around the house. You're able to contain that. You don't need an instant argument. It can wait until you're able to handle it and deal with things. So it's about communication skills. It's about being assertive and at the same time allowing room for things to go wrong and to work on fixing them, making them better so that they don't happen again. So please, whether it's a couple or whether it's just friends, whatever the situation, take into account that the person reading your text may not know what you mean, and they may not know your tone of voice. And then taking it a step further and going, when there are problems, let's try to handle them and address them so that we don't have problems. Because what will happen is in any relationship, you're going to make those stumbles. But if you're repairing and doing what you need to be, over time, there's less stumbles. And eventually, you get to a level of where there's very few and very seldom, and it's because you can trust each other. So when you read a text and want to get upset, you can still go, that's normally not the way that person operates. Can I talk to you later in person? Or can we call on the phone at least to talk without things escalating? Okay. A lot of what you do is de-escalating, whether it's at work, with friends, or between you and family. It's about bringing things back down and having a conversation and working to repair. Okay. And I hope that helps some of y'all think through what's going on in your life before you go off the deep end, start the screaming, hollering, things go bad. And again, as I started this out with, this is not for those situations that are abusive. If those are abusive relationships, it's a whole different story to be handled a lot different. And we'll talk about that later. Okay. Hope you have an awesome day, and I will talk to you later. Like I said, y'all have a good day.